So the really funny thing, Vivi, is that the countries that hate America typically like China. Now, which countries do you think hate China the most? We know it's not America. Hey, Laowinners, it's Laowinners here with another video. Do Chinese people hate us? And by us, I mean Americans. Let's find out. An interesting poll came out by the Pew study group, and they found out that about 44% of Americans have a favorable opinion of you, Chinese people, which means 66% of Americans have a negative view of China, right? However, that is up from last year, which was only 37% favorable, right? So that's kind of interesting first. Now, China is a little bit different. China's split right down the middle, with 50% of people with a favorable opinion of us Americans, and 50% with an unfavorable opinion. We're going to talk about why that is, possibly, and also talk about how other countries feel about China and the US as well. So, Vivi, as you as a Chinese person yourself, right? Would you say that the general opinion of America is positive or negative in China?
I mean, back then it's not necessarily bad, it's cool. And it's equal to, like, American is like as being respectful as, what's it called, as
check out all these dudes getting tattoos.
As
anyway.
British people.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, you know, Chinese people, they tend to easily get manipulated.
Like riled up.
Got riled up by the what's it called, by the government news.
So you're saying the media basically in China will make the populace feel negatively or positive?
They're technically leading the hatred stuff. For example, if you have, like, in the government, like, for example, Taiwan have anything to do with, like, you know, like Japan, 钓鱼岛 time.
Right.
And then Japan got suffered, you know, and then they hate Japanese.
Right.
And recently, China and America have the fight, the economy,
the trade war.
The trade war, and then America become the target, and then somehow seriously, it's like period of time. Sometimes it's like Korean, sometimes it's this. Totally, most of the hatred is totally because of the news.
Right, I was gonna say, like, when I first came to China, it was like mostly positive, and people would be like, "Oh, America, that's so cool," and then like the government would put something out on the news, and then you'd have an old man in the elevator being like, "Oh, you're American, you go home." You know what I mean?
Here we're not necessarily trying to point our finger to who leading this, but media, seriously, it's the
Chinese people are affected by the media greatly.
Yes.
And it's just a propaganda tool, and that's just how it is, right? Now, if I was to ask you this, and I think this is interesting, if you were to guess what countries like America the most, like the most favorable opinion, what would you guess?
Japan.
Okay. Any other ideas?
Any other ideas? I don't think it's Europe.
Europe's not a country, but yeah, I know what you mean. European countries.
European countries. I don't think they're a huge fan. I don't know.
I was surprised to find out. So according to the Pew poll, the 5 top countries with favorable opinions of America are Poland, which is in Europe, South Korea, Philippines, Israel, which makes a lot of sense. I mean, they're kind of the only reason they exist is because of the US. And number 1, do you know, this shocked me. The number 1 was Vietnam.
What?
Vietnam has the most highly favorable opinion. They love us. And it's so weird because we went to war.
Do you remember
recently.
how much like old people hate like the history?
Right.
You know, like
Japan.
Japan.
Like China, yeah.
Like back that whole history. And America caused a lot of problems.
Right. It's kind of ridiculous. Now, what about countries that hate America? What do you think those are?
China, for sure.
Well, we know that it was 50-50, so there's definitely worse ones. So the top 5, and this changes every year, but the worst countries for opinion of America, for unfavorable opinion, are Mexico, Tunisia, Lebanon, Turkey, and Jordan. And Mexico has usually had a favorable opinion, but that's changed obviously, and we know why that is, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna get hit by a car. We know why that is. That's very clear that you know, Trump's policies have affected the perception, right?
We're going to build the wall. We have no choice.
Now, what countries do you think like China?
Like China?
Yeah.
I don't think it's Western countries.
You don't think it's any Western countries?
No, I don't think so.
You might be surprised. So the really funny thing, Vivi, is that the countries that hate America typically like China. So you have places like Tunisia, you have places like Lebanon, you have places like Turkey that have a very favorable opinion of China.
I think like South Africa area probably because we invest so much.
So you think the African investment has something to do with that?
A little bit.
Positive opinion? Now the #1 country that loves China the most is not in South Africa, it's actually in West Africa, and that is Nigeria.
Ah, see?
So Nigerians absolutely are loving the hell out of China. And yeah, tons of investment, ton of cooperative projects, right? Now, which countries do you think hate China the most? And we know it's not America. America's got 44% positive. There's some, I'll say this, the average countries that like America are much higher. And the average countries that don't like China are much lower on the scale. Meaning the hate's very strong.
I think Southeast Asia not so. I think don't like Philippines probably don't like China.
Okay. So you're saying Philippines,
And,
Vietnam.
And also like Southeast Asia probably. And
Okay.
Japan, I don't think they like us too much because we don't like them.
Right, it's mutual.
Yeah.
So-
And I think most of the people like if like the most don't like China, probably it's just Asia area.
Okay, look at the mad rush. Where are we going, down here? So, like I said, most of the countries that don't like China, like America, it's pretty much like that the other way around. So the countries that don't like China are Japan, of course. I think only 11% of people had a favorable opinion. South Korea, like you said. Oh, that is awesome. Look at that. That's a pretty sweet temple. Vietnam actually is the worst. They hate you guys the most. You guys had a recent war, but so do we. That's what I don't understand.
Yeah.
And also, there's all kinds of border disputes there. I'm going to talk about that some other time. But also, weirdly enough, Jordan, which also hates America, also really hates China, which I thought was weird. And also, most of Europe had a pretty like split down the middle opinion about China, but Italy freaking hates you guys. Italy for some, I don't know. I have no idea.
I mean, like I'm not sure is that because of tourists.
You think it's, oh, maybe it's all the Chinese tourists in Italy. You think that's the reason?
I mean, like Chinese tourists in the whole world.
Right, that's true. That is true. Anyway, I thought these polls are really, really interesting to think about what countries like and hate each other based on like public opinion instead of like what the governments are doing. And it kind of shocked me, some of the results. You know what also shocked me is how loud and freaking hot it is here. So anyway, one thing we can kind of end this on a positive note is that it doesn't really matter what these polls say because we are a living embodiment that it doesn't matter who hates and loves each other because we love each other so very, very much. Is that right? That's what I want you to think at least. If you guys like this video, please go downstairs, leave a like. Also, if you want to see more, you know, kind of the stuff that we can't really talk about on camera, go to patreon.com/Laowinners and you can support the channel there. Also, there's merch for sale downstairs. If you see, there's a little bar. There's also a dude smacking his head on the ground. And you can support the channel through merch and all kinds of stuff like that. And there's all kinds of delicious goodies and behind the scenes stuff that you guys can help us out on. And most importantly, I want to say thank you so much, Laowinners, and I will catch you